Good evening. I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, April 15, 2013, 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence for those service members that have given their lives while defending our country. I'm also going to have an extended moment of silence for the tragic events that happened today in Boston. Would everybody please stand? Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Bettis, will you take the roll, please?
Good evening, Your Honor. Mayor Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Squires.
Here.
Councilmember Kerwin.
Here.
Councilmember Lynch.
Here.
Councilmember Fenner.
Here.
Councilmember Dodge.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is item 4, approval of the agenda as presented.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Councilmember Dodge, supported by Councilmember Lynch. Any discussion from council? From the general public? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Dodge.
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Fenner.
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin.
Aye.
Councilmember Squires.
Aye.
Mayor Walker.
Aye. We have no community event announcements tonight. Moving on to comments from state and county officials, I see that we have Wayne County Commissioner Richard LeBlanc in attendance. I want to thank you for sending the information to all of us on the water rates and sewer rates. Allison's put a nice color chart up and wanting to get that to the residents and how we come up with our water and sewer rates, and hopefully we can, may not like the answer, but at least we can explain how we get to the number that we're at. Not a lot we can do about our water and sewer rates, but at least we can try to explain to you why they're where they're at. So we will cover that later on in the meeting. Mr. LeBlanc, did anything you wish to say tonight? Okay, thank you. We have no petitions or communications, no public hearings. Moving on to item 9, consent agenda.
Mayor,
Ms. Lynch?
I move for the approval of the consent agenda items A 1, 2, 3, and 4. Support.
Support from Ms. Squires. Discussion from council. From the general public. Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch.
Aye.
Councilmember Squires.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones.
Aye.
Councilmember Dodge.
Aye.
Councilmember Fenner.
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin.
Aye.
Mayor Walker.
Aye. Okay, we will move on to our study session. Item B1, proclamation designating May as Motorcycle Awareness Month.
And C with the correction.
Yeah, C with corrections, and we have those. Okay, we'll move on to item 2, purchase service credit for municipal employee retirement service.
To C.
C. C. Purchase of city's financial software system.
C.
Can we first, because this is going to affect our CIP for the next 5 years, 2, 4, 6 years maybe, are we ready to do this without looking at our CIP? I know it's something that's necessary, I know it's something that we all want to see done, but are we willing to commit before we even look at our CIP?
I feel we need to get this software. We're so outdated, it's not even funny. I don't know
Yeah.
how everybody else feels.
I don't, I agree with Ms. Dodge, we're spending the money before we even know. I mean, we're going through the budget process now. It makes absolutely no sense to make this kind of major service purchase, or we're going at the budget.
I'd like
It
to
isn't
look
that
at the
important, it has
CIP
to be done
first.
tonight.
What,
I mean, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars,
200, yeah.
Yeah.
260,000.
and,
Not saying it's not necessary.
oh, of course it's necessary. I spoke
But-
at the budget meeting, it's
Right, but
necessary.
we need to know, what else in the CIP that we're going to pick and choose from. And now, these prices, will they change if we wait, 2, 3 weeks?
So, and I don't want to be alarmist. The price that we were given is lower than most, and it was a result of us using the bid that another municipality used. So as he indicates in his letter, it may not stick very long. But I understand your concern. I will say that in the CIP as proposed, this is included. Also in the CIP, we do have a fund balance that is also available to be used for this and other things.
But the thing is, we haven't, for
I-
3, 4
I-
years, we have not even looked at the CIP. And as the mayor has stated, we need to go through that and pick and choose. And we want to make sure that we're picking and choosing the right things. Not to say this isn't, because
I totally
mean,
understand.
The last one, the last system we got, I was totally against, and this one, I'm very much in favor for, but I want to know where we are.
And
Going forward.
please don't misunderstand what I'm saying as, I don't know, pressure or anything. But I just do want to say another thing. The other thing that we wanted to do is we wanted to be able to have it in place for the July taxes. So that will definitely be put off until the following year, but that's, that's okay.
What's council's wish? Who wants to move to C? Show of hands.
I'm comfortable moving it to
I
C.
am too, because we might lose that good price.
Yep.
I only, remember the old saying, lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine.
Okay.
And this is something we've needed for a long time, so, no, I won't look for it.
All right, there's 4 of us to move it to C, so we'll move to C. Item 4, GCYA 2013 Field Use Agreement.
Can we do 4 and 5 together?
Sure.
Thank you very much to staff for making a lot of the corrections and making some of the things read a little bit better, like adding dragging of the fields to the soccer agreement, lining of the fields, adding picnic tables. We did change the language in alterations and improvements. Now it must be in writing to city administration. Depending on what it is, city administration could do some things, but I think other things would need to come to council if they want to tear a building down, build a building, create a new field. So I'd still like to, in writing to city administration / council, I'd still like council to be involved in that on both of these. And then with the GCYAA, we were supposed to be given the figure, a number 5 responsibilities. GCAA will provide all materials such as toilet paper, soap, cleaning supplies, and all other cleaning materials to maintain clean, safe bathrooms at Moeller Park. We didn't get that information. They were supposed to give us a dollar figure on how much they actually spend so that we could make a decision if we want to keep it with the athletic association or us pick up the cost. So I don't know if somebody has those figures, but until I get that, I know for the GCYAA one, I'm not ready to vote on it till I get those figures. I don't think it's thousands of dollars. I think we could absorb it in the budget. but I don't know for sure till we got the figures.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Muir?
Regarding the first point that Mrs. Dodds brings up regarding city administration versus city council, it is understood that we are, city administration is the receiving point, and we then process such a request and determine whether or not any further action would require council's involvement or whether or not it falls within the realm of authority of the city manager's office. On the other issue regarding the expenses, we didn't have the figure yet at the time this was prepared to get on the agenda. I do believe we could probably go back and amend that if we get figures that look like we can tolerate it. The reason we have brought this back to you without that figure that you requested is because we're now at April 15th, and this is basically an agreement that starts April 1st. So we are still working on those figures.
Okay. Any other discussion from council?
I have no problem with amending it in the future if the figures are amenable to our budget.
I'm sorry, I've seen us what we've gone to amend things in the future, and it seems not to come back to us. I want to make it upfront so that they know how much money they have. This is something that was on 3 weeks ago, and we should have had those figures by now.
Mayor?
Okay, Ms. Lynch?
I believe a representative from GCYAA is here, and if that's okay with them, I think it would be okay with many people on council. I don't know if you want to bring them up to the podium and ask.
We could do that. Mr. Collard, President of the GCYA.
I'm not sure I can give you a 100% accurate, but I think I can come pretty close. I did also want to have I don't know, I turned in the thing, but I wanted to invite you guys to opening day, which is May 4th. I'm not sure how that got overlooked, but May 4th is our opening day at 1 o'clock. Pancake breakfast is at 8 o'clock at Henry Ruff. And I would love if all you guys would come. Chief, that includes you. But I'm sorry, Ms. Dodge, if you have any questions, I know the toiletry and stuff like that at Moeller Field, because there wasn't specific line items, it wasn't broke down. I would have to say it wasn't more than a few $100s for toiletry stuff. We did do all the maintenance of the bathrooms ourselves last year, kind of a volunteer thing. Some of the things that the city's picking up this year has kind of scaled back, and we were planning on paying for most of it at the time because our cost had to be put into place prior to our meeting. So, to be honest with you, we were expecting to pay for more than we really probably will be this year, which in a result will end up probably reducing the cost next year for the players themselves. But if you have any questions, do you have any direct questions, specific numbers?
Our staff has to provide the specific numbers, that's what they were asked to. To the rest of council, can we change number 5 then, so that it reads GCYAA will maintain clean and safe bathrooms at Moeller Park? And the city will provide the toilet paper, soap, cleaning supplies?
4 or 5?
Number 5.
I have only one question. Whose responsibility will it be to make sure that it gets to the restrooms? Will that be GCYAA picking it up, or will that be a staff member delivering it? That's my only question. And I think that needs to be determined.
It's something, I don't know where we store it now. If we store it over at DPS, you guys could go over to DPS.
Yeah, that would be no problem. It's right there, either way. We've been in pretty good communication with Mr. Plumondon, so I don't see it being an issue. We can work out something, however you guys want to work it out.
You guys okay with that change on number 5?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Collard?
Let's see.
Okay, so with the changes, you guys okay moving this to C?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's 4 and 5, correct?
Yep.
Okay, move on to item 6, elevator preventive maintenance contract.
I think that needs to move to C.
C. Item 7, lawn maintenance contract.
C.
C.
On the, can we ask on this, I was a little confused on this. It's an annual amount not to exceed 38,000, and then another not to exceed 10,000. And then I look at the dollars, and 25, okay, they're both under that. Then it goes 48, 48, then it goes 23. So I'm assuming both 48s are the 38 and the 10 together. I'm not sure how the 12, 13 year breaks down, how the 15, 16 breaks down, and I could be actually wrong with the 14 and the 15. I mean, those are over the amounts not to exceed. So I just want to make sure I'm reading it correctly there.
Do we have anybody can answer that, Chief?
I would expect Mr. Barnes to be able to.
Oh, I didn't see it. There he is. Okay. I was looking for you. Usually sit over there.
Could you repeat the question? I couldn't.
Okay, if you look at the very front cover, it gives us the breakdown of years 12, 13, 13, 14, 14, 15, 15, 16. 13 and 16, one is 25,000, one's 23,000. Then 14 and 15 are both 48,000. But when we read the language, it's telling us for one company not to exceed 38,000, the other company not to exceed 10,000. So first, there's the 248s, is that the 10 and the 38 together? And then if that is for those years, why isn't it for year 13 and 16?
Because we're starting here at the end of April, 1st of May, and the fiscal year that we're in right now only goes to 30 June, and then we go. So then we start a new fiscal year in 1 July, so it goes 1 July to 30 June, so that's where you got the 48. And then the last fiscal year, for the 3 calendar years,
All right.
that's how you end up with just
Just wanted to make sure I understood it before.
That makes sense. Okay.
Okay, then, with the bids, you're recommending Vivid for City Hall, City Park, and all the other ordinance cuts. And U.S. Lawns as the second, responsible for the other facilities. And you were a little concerned with U.S. Lawns, who actually comes in as the low bidder for all of it, because of their low bid. Are they a reputable company?
from checking the references, they've done it, I'm going to use the term adequate job at all the cities we checked, which we checked with 2.
So there weren't cost increases along the way? And
But they're extremely cheap, extremely cheap. So we're actually getting a lower price overall on this contract than last year, because we had 2 different contractors, and last year one contractor underbid a couple items, and then he fulfilled the contract, but it was hard. So, and there was about 390 ordinance cuts, and technically there was only one that he's higher on, I think, looking at. the
how many
numbers.
ordinance cuts?
We did 390 last year,
And you only had them bidding on what,
so,
35, 25?
yes. And then, last year, the one contractor that did City Park, he's the one that really underbid the amount of effort at City Park. So we needed 2 contractors so we can be flexible if they get behind, or if this guy, like we did last year. Last year we had 2 contractors, and that's a good thing. That way we can then move the contract back and forth if the guy gets behind because of weather, or if he has production problems.
Okay, and then for Ms. Bettis, were any of these Garden City businesses?
No.
No? Did we send any bids out to Garden City businesses?
I don't have that in front of me.
Okay.
Anybody else? Mr. Barnes? Okay, thank you, Mr. Barnes. What's council's wish on item 7?
See.
See? Okay, we will move on to item 8, water and sewer. We'll start with 8A, discussion on the irrigation meter. This is the second meter that some residents have requested that we look into to water their lawns to lower their cost. Ms. Squires?
I did talk with Mr. Smith and did see copies of his water bills, and they were horrible. The sewage portion, and I know he would like an irrigation, a second meter for irrigation purposes, and I feel he deserves one. He has one of the best-looking lawns here in the city. I think it should be the residents' choice.
Okay, and I agree, Mr. Smith has a fantastic lawn, but this needs to be said and understood by council members and residents. The way the system works with Wayne County, if we buy, I'm just picking a number, 1,000 gallons of water comes through the Garden City meter and then it goes into the houses and businesses, we're paying for 1,000 gallons going back for sewage. So when you allow somebody to have a second meter to water their lawn where they're not paying the sewage cost on that meter, what you're doing, you're spreading that cost when they're watering their lawn to all the other residents in Garden City. So you're asking the other residents to pay for the sewage for the people that are watering their lawn with the second meter. Because 1,000 gallons comes into Garden City and they're charging us for 1,000 gallons going back to get cleaned up. Even though, it doesn't go down the pipe, it's based on usage, and that's from the county, that's not from us. So what I'm saying is we're asking all the other residents to pay for the people that are watering their lawns that want the second meter, and because of that, I can't vote for it. And we got a letter from the county, and it's right in their letter here. It's to be kept in mind that it is the cost of sewage treatment that is spread on the units of metered water consumed. This basis has been determined to be most practical, fair, and equitable measurement, and not the units of sewage discharged from a given site. Since therefore no uniform practical way to measure such discharge. So again, we can, if we allow these second meters, and some cities do and a lot of cities don't, it goes both ways. But keep in mind that the resident that pays for this second meter and waters his lawn a lot, the other residents are paying for that water to go back to be cleaned up. So you're increasing the fees to all the other residents. So I understand Mr. Smith loves his lawn and he has a fantastic lawn, but I can't see making the other residents pay for that. So therefore, I personally can't vote for it.
I agree 100% with Pat. I mean, the people that want to keep their lawns up, and I agree with you also on this.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, to Ms. Bettis, now, you've talked about a flat fee before, but that would be to all the consumers, the water consumers. I don't know if I like that. I don't know how it's, you haven't given us figures for us to make judgments one way or another. Could we allow a second meter but with a flat fee so you still have those sewage costs built in but they wouldn't be as outlandish as they are now? Is that something we could do? Is that something you could look at?
Of course. So if we did that, then we would have to come up with some idea of what that flat fee would be. And would it be based on what we think you might be using in the second meter? ultimately, it would still be spread to the other residents unless that flat fee was so much that it would be the same effect as a
Well, that would defeat the
consumption.
purpose.
Yeah, you're defeating the
Right.
purpose.
Yeah, that would defeat
Right.
the purpose.
So,
And I
yes,
think it
we
would
could
just
put a
be
flat
probably
fee
a
on it.
handful of residents that would want a second meter.
Mhm.
And I think it would probably just be a handful of people that are gonna want a second meter. I
If you
don't,
open it up, you might have a lot more people than you think.
Mr. Kerwin?
I would agree with Mrs. Dye. I mean, I really don't have a clue, but I know 3 people that has approached me, and Mr. Smith is one for, it's been going on for a long time.
and his bills are outlandish. They're absolutely,
Sure, and I know 2 others, and all of their lawns are absolutely immaculate. And what are you gonna get, a handful, I mean, maybe 10? So if you got 25 people, I don't think we're gonna get 2,000 or 3,000. What's it gonna cost?
I don't know,
What'll it cost everybody, another quarter?
I don't know.
I mean, you know, I think they ought to have the right, if that's what they want, they ought to have the right to do that, that's my opinion.
Mayor?
Ms. Lynch?
I mean, my water bills are horrible too, so I mean, I understand
All
there.
of ours are.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'd be the first one to jump in and get one also, and I can give you a dozen other people in my neighborhood that don't water because they're keeping the price of the water down, that would jump in and get a second meter. What we're doing, and as much as I would love a second meter, and I'd love to offer it to everybody, so you can water your grass, your flowers,
Wash your car,
Wash your
exactly.
car.
fill your pool.
I'm afraid that we would have more people than we give credit for. So then if we have 1,000 homes out of 1,100 or 11,000 homes in Garden City, what would the impact of 1,000 homes with the second meter, which is a small number out of 11,000, what would that impact
I don't know how
have?
many of those people are gonna be able to install a well, you know,
Second
single well
meter.
point, and
Yeah.
it's not cheap, I don't know honestly what it is.
Yeah,
but-
'cause the meter cost is gonna be up to the resident. It's not gonna be something the city's gonna absorb. I mean, we may purchase them at a cheaper rate and they buy it from us, but, could we run some numbers, just some different scenarios? Like, okay, if we decide to do this, the second meters and the cost is spread out amongst everybody else, and I don't know, maybe use 500 households
That'd be a
as
good number.
your figure, what it would do. Put in there with 2 meters, that one's at a base rate, and maybe pull up Mr. Smith's water bills and kind of use that as the guide to figure out. Let's see if there's something else that we could do before we make a
But
decision on
we
it.
do need to do something. We've been dragging this out with Robert Smith for a long time, so if we're not gonna do it, that's one thing. If we are, I mean, we gotta let.
Right, we said we'd look into it, and when I read this, I gotta bring that up to the resident.
Right.
And what's to say of all the people that have swimming pools? These swimming pools are 15, 20,000 gallons.
Yeah.
So if I own a pool, I'm gonna fill my pool up with this second meter, then all my residents are gonna pay for that 20,000 gallons to go back to Detroit to get cleaned up. Is
And
that
I
fair?
do- I have a
Well,
pool, and
give
I
me
do
your
as much
address,
as I
I'll come
can
swimming
not
and
to
it'd be
have
more than
fill
fair.
it. You know, I have cap
So that's what I'm
covers.
saying. We get charged for the water coming in and the water going back to get cleaned up. So anybody that's filling a pool, watering their lawn, you're asking all the other residents to pay for that sewage, for that water to go back and get cleaned. I don't think that's fair to the majority of the residents, that a lot of these people are on fixed income. You're asking them to pay for the neighbor who wants to water and fill their pool up. I
You
can't
know,
see
in
it.
actuality, even though they sell us 1,000 gallons, 1,000 gallons isn't going back to them to be cleaned, in actuality.
But they don't
Actually,
count that.
We're still
probably, I
paying
just
for it.
learned today, or learned better
But
today.
we're even charged for rainwater,
It
so.
actually gets us, they get more than what we.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's
because
rainwater
it's
going into the
stormwater.
system, and,
Right.
it's,
You're right.
I think there's some things that the county and the city of Detroit need to do on their end also to work with all the communities. But if we could just run some different scenarios, just give us an idea first.
I'll
If
try to-
we just did a second meter, how does it affect everybody else? Because I know I don't want my water bill to go up anymore. If we did a second meter but at a flat rate, you know, or just leave it as is, you know. Just give us some options.
Well, I
to
mean,
look
I guess, let's just say that this season, we have 2 or 3 people, okay. And next season, we have 2 or 3 people, and next season, we have 10 or 12. And the next one, we have 150. Well, then maybe we need to look at that. But for just a handful, I don't think it's gonna be that much. But if we start talking big numbers, then hey,
Well, we have
That's the
11,000
problem.
11,000 homes in Garden City. I think it'd be more than a few sign up for this. That's just
Yeah.
my opinion.
And, you know, don't get me wrong, I don't want the citizens to have to pay any more either, along with myself, but there's also businesses.
Yeah.
Right, I see you, Mr. Santu, out there, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
has to maintain
Yeah.
a nice looking
Pat, you
property.
don't still have the car wash, do you?
Pardon me?
You don't still have the car wash?
No.
Mr. Feder?
Yeah, I came out for this meter quite a while ago, and I haven't changed my mind at all. We just got from Chief Murray a 7-page document outlining everything, and I just got it literally 30 minutes ago. So I'm gonna need time to read it. But there are communities that have successfully done this. It is a good option to have. I think we're talking it to death. We've been going on 3 months now, and as you can hear, we're not any closer than we were 3 months ago, as far as getting information and stuff. But I think it's an option. I think people need to look out for themselves. If it benefits them, then it's something they need to do. We'll see what kind of difference it makes when Ms. Bettis runs some numbers, but there are communities who have been doing it for years and it's been successful in their community. And I don't know how many in their community do it, but I would imagine it's not everybody. So I'd like to look at it, but I am for the second meter. I've always said that, and when it comes to a vote, unless something changes my mind, I'll vote to put it in.
No, you said that, Mr. Feder. I haven't really had a chance to read this either, but on the second page, I'm seeing all the different cities that have them. If you could maybe check with them and find out how many people have them in their town, you know.
You know, that's a copy of what I gave you guys last time. That's all that is.
Yes. In June.
Okay, but I mean, still, if we could find out if Farmington Hills, Northville, Bloomfield, Auburn Hills, how many does each town have, might give us an idea.
Okay.
So let's leave the irrigation in place in the B agenda. Okay? Okay, now I want to move to the fee structure. This is what I promised I would get back to you guys after I got information back from Mr. LeBlanc and Ms. Bettis put this chart together. Is it going to be on the screen for the residents at home, or we don't know?
I don't know.
Anyway, Ms. Bettis, you want to explain the fee?
Well, yes, it is.
There it is, yep.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
So this is for our water and sewer rates, and Ms. Bettis is going to explain it.
Mayor, as you requested of me, you wanted to show the residents how we spend the dollars that they give us for user fees in the water system. And so basically what I put together is just a graphical picture of the water rate, which you'll see at the bottom there for water and sewer, and what types of things we spend those funds on. And so it's just broken down as water units are approximately $3.50 for a unit of water. And of that $3.50, this is the kind of things that we're spending on it. So as we go from the bottom up, if we're looking at the water rate, the wholesale water rate, which is the amounts that we get from the city of Detroit, the water that we get from the city of Detroit, DWSD, is approximately just short of 40% of the fee. So of the amount that we get, that we spend, or that we collect from you, we spend almost 40% of it just purchasing the water. Other big ticket items in that area would be capital outlay, and that changes every fiscal year, depending on the types of projects that we may or may not do. So for example, this year we're contemplating doing the Bach Lathers reconstruction and the replacement of sewer and water pipes underneath, as we usually do when we do any project. That would be one of the capital outlay projects. Capital outlay generally is just your big ticket items. Sewer lining, the Florence lift station. Those are the type of things that are in the proposed budget for 13-14. And so those are the kind of things that we spend that type of money, and that's about 22% of the money that we spend. As you can see, we can spend very little. We spend, well, before we talk about operating, let's look at the purple, if we will. And that's what we spend on personnel. So that's Garden City personnel. That includes the people that go out and fix the water main breaks that are there in the middle of winter in freezing cold ditch, making sure that those water main breaks are repaired. Those are my staff that are sending you, unfortunately, the billing that everybody dreads getting. Who are processing the payments, the meter reader who goes out and reads everyone's meter. Those are those type of costs. And I split those proportionately between the water and sewer just to kind of give you an idea of this much is water and this much is sewer. And there's flexibility in there depending on what day it is. But just generally, the water portion of our budget uses up about 30% and the sewer about 70%. Let's see. Then there are the professional and technical type items. That's the things like insurance. We have to have insurance, so if someone gets hurt, we had a lawsuit for sewer backup claims, and the insurance covered a portion of that, and so that's where those costs come in. Also, the administrative fees that the water fund pays the general fund for the everyday things, the overhead things that have to be done. Portions of the auditing fees and the oil and gas that the trucks use, all of those things are just estimated and charged to the water fund. If we skip over to the sewer portion, you can see that 35%, if you look at the red and the green, those are wholesale sewer disposal costs, the red, and the green from the bottom up is excess sewer charges, and that's a huge chunk of what we have to pay for our disposal costs that we pay to the Rouge Valley system or Wayne County. Then again, there's personnel, as we just discussed, and operating costs, and then there's the professional and technical, again, the same things that we talked about in capital outlay. What the sewer portion has that the water portion does not have is debt service. So when we've combined the sewer or separated the sewer system, and when we bond out and borrow money to do those capital expenditures, we have to pay that money back just like everybody else, your mortgage and everything else. And so a great chunk, about a little less than 20% of the cost that we have go to pay debt service. And then there's a smaller portion, 2 to 5%, that we save to make sure that we are ready for MDEQ mandates, if we can ever be ready for them. And other emergencies that came if we had a sinkhole or something like that. And so these are based on the budget. They change from year to year as the budget, for example, if we don't do a reconstruction project, then that portion of the cost would be reflected that way. But it's just to give you an idea, and thank you, Dan, of what we're spending those monies on. Most of the costs, the majority of the costs are the wholesale costs for the commodity itself. Then again, there are personnel expenditures, debt service, and capital outlay, which are a great portion of it. As you can see, the little skinny in the middle blue is operating costs. Your pens, your pencils, your calculators, and all of that good stuff, paper. That is the teeniest portion of the budget. And that's kind of where we spend our money. when the mayor asked me to do this, I thought, okay, it's in the budget, but I really do like the way that, I thought it was a good idea. I like the way that it's depicted in this graph, because I think it gives you a much easier picture to look at. And of course, I'm always available to try to explain anything.
Thank you, Allison. Again, I too do not like our water and sewer rates, like many residents, but I felt we owed it to them to explain how it gets to where it's at. Again, you may not like the figures, but this is how we get to these figures. And I just wanted to provide that for you all, and I wish there's a way we could lower it, but we're dealing with Detroit and the county on both water and sewer. So, anybody have any questions from the table?
I have a comment. Okay, Tom? Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate the graph, but it doesn't explain. There's a skunk in the woodwork somewhere. And it's not at this table, it's not at Allison or the chief or us, but when I look at Canton, Westland's numbers, people that are farther down the line than we are, when you look at their breakdown, and they get real specific on their website of maintenance, doing the roads, capital improvement, they're all under us. And they all have infrastructures that are as old as ours. And they're bigger than us. How can we sit here? I'm not saying that anyone is exaggerating any points with this chart or making anything up. That's not the purpose of what I'm saying. I'm saying there's an issue somewhere. There's an issue with the way we're figuring it, the way we do it, something. There has to be a reason why we're the smallest community and we're the most expensive. When I took up council, somebody at the time, I think Darwin did, said, the farther down the line you go and the farther up the hill, the more expensive it is. No, it isn't. I printed Canton. I'd love to have their rates, and they get into what they spend on construction, sewage, everything. And then I look at our little community, and it's ridiculous. There has to be something we're charging wrong, or something. We haven't even come up with where the $1.3 million came from yet. And that was back when the audit was done. So, I appreciate the chart. I appreciate the information. But all that's doing is substantiating what we're doing. It doesn't say it's right. We're charging extra money for projects that may never happen. This Wayne County thing, I mean, I don't think it's ever going to happen. There's communities pulling out of this water fund. Wayne County is not going to continue with this when they're losing communities because they're going on their own, because no one's going to be able to afford it and it won't be needed after a while. And then here's Garden City, who wants to stay on the ship. It's a sinking ship. And we're not looking to where the lifeboats are at. We're not looking out for ourselves and what we need to do. So it's nice. I'm sure it's accurate. But we need to get into this and say, even if we take the model of another community and adopt it, you can't tell me our residents and us can pay these rates. And it's more than everybody around us but Inkster. Nobody's more than us.
I know one thing, and we need to talk about this when we do the water budget, but Commissioner LeBlanc did give us some information, because I literally, when I read that information, I threw it across the room. I was not at you, thank you for the information, but a lot of it comes from what section of Rouge Valley you're in also.
Yes,
which
it does.
I was floored when I read that. It was, I was not a happy camper. Dave's right, we do need to make sure that we go through where every one of our pennies go. He's absolutely right there. Is there some wiggle room? I'm sure there is.
Well, let me give you one
know,
example.
but I'm not
Our-
sure
our
which
operating-
Canton falls in.
Our operating, is that what we pay when we redo a street? What section of this is when we redo the streets and we do new sewers and water lines?
Capital outlay.
Capital outlay, okay. We have to have money in that account to do a project, and then we turn around and we assess it back to the residents based on their square footage on the road. So we're getting the money back,
We assess a portion,
a portion.
correct.
Generally less than 20%,
But some of it is coming back.
not necessarily to the water fund.
Why not? It came from the water fund.
No, the construction project is special assessed for the
The
construction,
street.
Right.
not
Not the
Not
water.
the street, not the water.
Not the water.
Okay.
Chief, can we take the next step? I mean, Allison, you did a great job putting this together. This is how we come to our rates, but could we pick two cities like Canton and Westland and look at theirs and see what the difference is between their sewer rates and
It
our
should
sewer
be
rates?
somebody, a community that's in the
To
Rouge
find
Valley
out
system.
where the,
Same
we need,
system
now,
as
we found out what our rates are and how we get to our rates, and I agree with Mr. Feder. We need to find out what the difference between these other communities, why they're so much lower than us on the sewer rate, to see what it
Go to
what it
their
shows us.
website. Canton does a
Well-
wonderful job laying it out.
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Bettis and I have already had that conversation. Once this product was finished and we were preparing to bring it before council, we want to go.
Yeah, let's
now
just take the next step
product.
and do the comparison and see where the differences lay.
I don't know that we
That's
can
fine.
use Canton, only because, number one, they're a township and we're a city, and I know that there's wells in Canton, and I know that there's new development in Canton that is 10 years old, 15 years old, whereas most of Garden City is quite old. So I think we need to pick another community in the same Rouge Valley system that is a city that we can compare apples to apples
Well,
on.
Canton's a township that's 4 times our size, so what,
And not Inkster, because Inkster's already more
what's the
expensive.
difference whether it's called a township or a city? We're the smallest community around. Nobody's smaller than us. So whether you call it a township or a city, I'm not getting hung up over, tomato and tomato. The
But
fact is,
if the
they live in a
infrastructure is
community.
newer, if it's newer,
Canton's been around for many, many years. I lived there back in the late 60s.
the development at
So,
Cherry Hill.
there's new developments, but we have new condos and stuff too. So, I mean, I have a feeling we're gonna talk this to death too, to be honest
Mayor?
with you.
Mr. Kerwin.
Yeah, I have an idea how we could probably drop some money off of here. To Mrs. Bettis, back a few years ago, when we were all, maybe even a little longer than that, but didn't we add 10% or something to go towards the containment area? I mean, it was supposed to be in Edward Hines, and we're gonna spend 50,
Yeah.
80, $100 million.
Retention
Didn't we start
bonds.
adding money?
Just these last few years, we talked about it, but we haven't actually done it.
We haven't.
So these last few years, maybe two, if I remember correctly, we did it.
How much do we have in there, roughly?
Don't make me lie in public, but I think, gosh, was it 300,000? I don't remember, I can tell you. But we talked to you guys about this and that we needed to start saving.
I don't know if we do or not, though. Not the more I was
I
very
thought we
concerned
started
then,
saving
but
when Mike
I mean,
Dodd
what are they
was
gonna
We
do?
talked about it.
how much more can we pay as citizens? We're still paying for something that's gonna go on for 10, 12 years. Now, if you add another 50 or 100 million, it doesn't make any difference. We're gonna be bankrupt. The people can't pay that. The city can't pay that.
It's council's decision whether or not.
I would say let's take it off and give the citizens the benefit of the doubt.
It's council's decision whether or not we save for any potential liability from MDEQ and for the retention pond. However, it's also council's responsibility if we have that debt and we're not prepared for it in any way.
Well, I don't know anybody else that is, or is putting money towards it, not that I know of.
Well,
But
regarding
Redford
that
is-
though, for what we're saving, we'll never be ready for it.
Oh, no.
We'll all be dead and long gone. Our grandkids won't even remember our names by the time we get the money for that. So the argument of we have to be prepared, levy a bond. We did it when we got sued for $14 million.
And you're right, we are going
And
to
then,
have to
right,
levy a
right,
bond.
exactly.
Even with the savings.
However, even that.
When it
will have
happens
costs.
though, when the day comes, if it ever happens, if the good Lord, if it comes through,
Up to 60%.
which I don't think it will ever do,
I don't think so, no, either.
not in the form it's going through now, through Wayne County, and I'm not connected, but if that's the case, then at that point, we levy a bond.
Let's talk about.
And hopefully, we got the 14 million paid for.
Mayor?
Ms. Dodge?
Can we ask Ms. Bettis and staff to give us the comparisons, and when we sit down, let's make sure we schedule enough time, because we haven't really delved into the water budget in the last few years. Let's make sure we have the comparisons, everything that we need, and then we can just argue it out, because it is expensive.
Yep.
It is, and if there's any way that we can pull it down, the cost down, we have to pull it down. We have to.
You don't
I
recall
mean, there's
what
some
that
fixed
percentage
costs that
was?
we can't touch.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the difference is from a couple other communities, so we'll leave this in B.
And also, Mayor, I'd like to see about taking that fee that we put on, to take it back off.
Yeah, we'll have
I
that.
think, isn't that built right in the water rate, or?
It's built into the
Yeah.
water model, yes. But we're going to have an opportunity to sit down and talk about the water budget and I show you, again, the water model
No.
and how we come up with the rates. And then you, council, as always,
Right.
make the decision on what those rates should be and whether or not we should have the rates that we have, if they should be higher, if they should be lower. Council gets to make that decision, and I will show you everything that I have that I bring to you as a recommendation or to let you know. The water model was designed by Plant Moran. It does work.
For a few
but-
years, we
but
didn't use it
doesn't-
correctly.
But it provides for realities and possibilities. And council can decide what one of those assumptions or any of those assumptions that we do or do not want to make.
Okay.
And just one more question. This excess sewage, I've been complaining about that, and I mean, a lot of other people. Is there any way, I mean, this is ridiculous. It really is. You're paying less than $1 for, out of this money, and over $1.50 for the excess. We're paying $1 already, and now another $1.50. Is there any way we can do anything with that? Somehow get that excess
In the
sewage?
history of Wayne County, have we ever been able to convince Detroit and Wayne County to reduce these excess fees? So probably not.
Well, with the county, let's make it clear, though, a lot of it is a pass-through through the county. And I'm sure you guys add your surcharge, though, on top of that to pass it through. Maybe this is something we want to put a letter to the EM for Detroit to
Or
really
maybe
tear apart
Mr.
the water
LeBlanc can help
project
us
there.
even, I mean, that's I believe, a ridiculous rate. There's a lot of people upset about that, you know. I understand we're already paying 96 cents out of the $7.17. Then we pay another $1.55 just for the excess sewage. And every bill, everybody I know has excess sewage, you know?
Mr. Barnes, you want to make a comment?
Just to clarify what excess sewage is. Excess sewage is anything that isn't put directly into a system. We have a lot of excess sewage. 3/4, I'm going to use 3/4 of our city has footer drains tied directly into the sanitary. So all that rainwater that we've been getting the last month that goes down to the weeping tiles in everybody's basement, unless you got a sump pump like Mr. Curran does and I have, all that rainwater that gets into your weeping tile is going directly into the sanitary and it's shipped down to the interceptor in Hines Park. All our pipes around town, underground pipes, unless they're brand new or they've been recently lined, there's a crack in the pipe, you're getting water in through the cracks. So it depends on elevations, it depends on the type of soil and everything. So you're always gonna have, we're gonna always have excess sewage unless we get rid of the footer drains. That's the biggest source. You know, there's a huge difference. When we got dry weather, we have no problem meeting our flows and everything. But when we rain, it's the water coming from the footer drains, and you can get water leaking in. You can just from the you get manholes leak and everything. So the S2, when we get a bunch of our lighting, you know, the second phase after our S2 grant, after we inspect everything and come up with the economical repairs, that there's going to be a lot of sewer lining in that second phase of that project, and that will tighten up the system, and that will reduce. I have not checked lately, like this year or last year, a couple years ago, because we do have meters at the inter-system. Just compared those meters to what we're paying in excess flow, and the last time I checked, I said I haven't done this for a couple of years. Actually, we was getting a bargain. We was getting a bargain. But sewage meters are notoriously, to keep them running, are hard to keep sanitary meters because of the environment that they're in. They're hard to keep running, so that's the reason they haven't completely gone to everything, to making everybody meter. But a few years ago, I compared to ours, because we have meters, and, you know, but there, even though we got preventive maintenance on our meters, there's periods where we get no readings and everything and all that too. So it's anybody with footer drains, every time it rains virtually. If you got a sump pump though, you're kicking it out into the storm system, and like, you know, you got a fairly new house, Mr. Curran, you know, we got plastic pipe going out to our sanitary sewers, which the older homes, a good hunk of older homes have clay pipe in their sanitary leak going out there. So we're even getting water in through cracks in the sanitary pipes and the connections of where their sanitary pipe connect to our main. You know, we've gotten a lot of sinkholes there, so a lot of water comes in through that connection even. So we're going to be hard pressed to get rid of it all. And they use a series of master meters down into the main interceptors. Not every community, you know, there's several communities between the meters. Then they use water. Then they go back and we submit to them how many, you know, if you're separated or not. Some communities aren't separated. And if you got footer drains, then there's rules of thumb about how much water comes into the system through a footer drain. So all that goes into the calculation that Wayne County does for the sewer. So it seems to be fairly reasonable. Is it expensive? Yeah. But, you know, it's hard. You're never going to get rid of all that. You're never going to get rid of all that.
I don't think anybody says get rid of all of it, because you're not. But get it under control is one thing. And it's not just us. It's all the other communities that are experiencing the same thing. And when we've watched over the years it go from about equal price to double and now almost triple price, that's where it's like, okay, something's wrong someplace. And our system hasn't changed. We've done so many improvements to our system, we should be seeing it headed the other way, and we're still not. But we're not the only community with this problem. We're absolutely not the only community with this problem.
We should see some improvement after we do the second phase, the second portion after we've done this too, because that will probably be a fairly large project. A fairly large project. And going back to a previous question, I'm sure Allison will be able to dig us out. As I understand it, we're trying to save up for 3 different projects right now, and I think when she digs it out, we're trying to save up some money for the big SSO project. We're saving some money for future meter change out for our older section. And then the previous city manager asked us to start saving some money up for the second phase of the S2 work. So those are decisions, that we thought we got okays from last time. So we can review those again, and that's what Allison said. We can review again if that's what we really want to do.
Okay, Mr. Fetter?
Yeah, let me just take a minute because I've been looking into this for quite a while. And don't move, Jack, you may want to come in. The water rate from Detroit Water uses 3 primary components to bill a city. 1, usage or demand by each community. The distance from the water treatment plant, number 2. And number 3, the elevation of the community relative to the treatment plants. These factors vary greatly in a service area. All customer wholesale rates by Detroit Water to buy water are set by this formula. It's based on an annual forecast determined by historical data for water usage and estimated cost for water production and delivery services. Detroit Water uses the forecast to set a rate for each of its customers. By law, they can only recover the cost of service. It cannot make a profit. If more water is sold than forecasted, i.e. Garden City $1.3 million, the extra funds received must be used for the system and offset the need to increase wholesale water rates in the future. So if you think about the 3 rates that Detroit Water uses, the elevation, the distance from the plant, and the demand by the community, there is nothing on this earth that I can find where we are higher than Westland, Garden City, Livonia, Farmington. We're higher than all of them. We're closer than all of them. I don't know about elevation and how far from Detroit. I know we got to be closer than Westland or Canton. It's got to be in what we're doing. It's got to be in the system itself. We've got a hiccup in here. We got a tick in our britches, and we need to find out where that tick is and adjust the fees.
On the water.
On the water. Because I don't think, we keep saying it's Wayne County and it's Detroit as the villain. It isn't, it's us. We've got to get the information from Allison and stand up like we got a pair and make some decisions on what we should be charging our residents, us. And as Jody said, it hasn't been done, and I think you said 3 years. It was before my time here, I don't know. But we need to stop blaming Wayne County. I had a county official one time I asked, and it's not Mr. LeBlanc, so I don't put him on the spot. I said something about water rates, and they turned to me and says, don't blame me because you charge $2 for every buck. And you know, I thought about it, and there was a bit of sarcasm in it, but he's right. If we just charged what Wayne County charges us, we could save our residents a whole lot of money, in my opinion. I'd say I've been looking at this stuff. I've been printing stuff up. I had to go get new ink cartridges for all this stuff, and my head's spinning on some of it. The chief said one day he's learning more about the water system than he ever cared to know. I'm with you, brother. I never thought I'd care. But if we go, it isn't Detroit. We can't blame them for the rates. They can't, by law, make money. They're just a new thing in the courts where the judge is off of the case now for running the water system.
Yep.
It's now in the hands of a board of community directors, I think. So hopefully we see some more input by the cities and the communities. But this is, ladies and gentlemen, don't think this is going to be blaming it on anybody else. We're it. We got to blame ourselves, and we have to stand up and be responsible for the way this community is being run. So I look forward to getting the figures, and we need to act on it, like next week. You know, I know it's exaggeration, but this is right from their website. Several communities even showed the rules on it. When you look at, and I say Canton because they're so big, I know there's new communities and stuff, but when they figure their rates, theirs is sewage, fresh water to the house, sewage, excessive sewage, and money for projects. They pay $10.13 per 1,000 gallons of water, and that's everything combined.
Okay.
I think they're a little brighter than we are, actually. I don't know what it is. I say that tongue in cheek, but I know we're all bright, but I'm getting, the more this goes on, the more frustrated, because it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. Let's offer the meters, let people do it that want to do it, let's straighten out the bills. Once we straighten out the bills, they may not want meters, because they're expensive. Meters are not cheap. I think in the forecast on the form we got, that I got to look at, by the time you pay everything, you're still in deficit spending after the first year, based on our historical data. It'll take you into year 2 to break even. But then, of course, the longer you have it, the better off you'll be. And I'm not convinced it's a bad thing to do, but that's, and if I can find it, and I'm not all that bright, but that's what I think we need to do. It's ridiculous.
Ms. Bettis, are we talking the water rates at next Monday's budget workshop? Or-
I think it's a long discussion. I think it's a comprehensive discussion. I don't think we have all the rates we don't have all the rates yet, so no, I don't think that's a
It'll
good
be the
idea.
next one after that then?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we could look into 2 communities, and maybe that will point out, where the difference is at. Okay? Enough on water tonight, guys?
No.
We
What
got
up?
one more water audit.
Oh, yeah, the water audit, I'm
C.
sorry. C.
Can we have any comments on the water?
No, right now.
Not right now, we're in
C.
budget workshop. When we get to C, you can.
And this is managerial audit. so-
Okay,
This is not-
Audit of the water department?
This is what we already did, the managerial. We need financial, and that's what you were talking, Dave, wasn't it? Not the managerial,
Right.
right?
Well, I asked that this be put on. I asked to be put on because we don't know where we're going if we don't know where we've been. All we're going to do is repeat mistakes that we've repeated time and time again. I don't know about the managerial report. I had thought we needed one. I trust you if you said we had one. I'd like to see
Yeah,
it.
we can pull that out.
But I would like to see, I would like to have an audit of the water department for the past 3 years, because it's over this time frame that we came up with $1.3 million. And everyone seemed surprised when the auditor came out. How do we not know $1 million is in our account? I'd like to have an audit of the department. I've heard people say that what I want is a forensic audit. I want to see rates we were charged, checks that were written, who they were written to, what employees we have on there we're paying, lawsuits we've paid, bills we've paid. I'd like a full accountability of this city, of this council, of this administration on the money that's there. Because we have not been talking about, I know work's going on behind the scenes with Chief Murray. And I know I haven't come over here at all to ask what's going on. So I sort of temper my comment, but you know me. I already loaded my tongue before I walked in tonight. So I don't think we're getting any closer to finding out. I have been talking to Detroit Water. I've been talking to citizens who have been involved with Detroit Water. And I don't see where we collected more water than we billed for. There's another issue out there. And there's no community, just to let you guys know, I've heard people up here say Westland needed water. No. Bye, Charlie. They're gonna have to give me a DNA test before they get any of our money. And they're not gonna be able to do it. We are not giving this money away. It's going back to the residents. We may not be able to prove how we got it, but if we can't in the end, it's going back. Okay, it's not so important how we got it, I guess, but I want an audit for the last 3 years on anything that happened on that account. And then we need to sit down and look at it, look at what's happened. If there's anything that has to be corrected, correct it. If not, it's water under the bridge and let's go on. So that's why I had this put here. I think it goes with the other two. It goes with the meter, and it really goes with our fee structure. So, I don't know if we'd use our regular auditing firm for such an audit. I know the state does it. Mr. Wallace was nice enough to print me up a sheet he gave me tonight. I haven't looked at it, but I guess the state does it for free. I don't know how good the state would be. I would imagine they'd be okay. But does anybody have an issue with doing a financial audit on our water department for the last 3 years?
Find out the cost. I don't have an
Yeah.
issue with it, but we do need to find out the
Yeah.
cost.
Well, I understand we need the cost, but keep in mind, we're auditing the people's money, and if it costs the
Yeah.
people's money to do it, let's not get into this, it's gonna cost $50,000, like we did with some of the other stuff. Because this is getting to the root of everything right here. And I tongue-in-cheek say 50,000, I don't know what an audit costs. Maybe I'm way high, but.
Yeah, well, maybe
Well,
not
we
for
hope-
financial, I don't know,
Well,
we've never done
But
one like this.
if that's the
Financial
case,
audit every year.
Not in-depth.
no, I want an in-depth, I don't want what we get.
Dave, what was that guy, the Irish name, we had a few years ago?
He did the managerial.
That was managerial.
That was a managerial
Yeah.
audit.
Yeah.
But that was water.
That's not a forensic one like Dave was
Okay.
speaking of.
Because I was gonna say, I don't think it costs,
No, that doesn't.
okay.
No.
What's the difference, or what's a forensics audit? What does that mean?
More minute details, as he was saying, he wants a list of all checks, all lawsuits, all this, all that.
Money's in, money's
Yeah.
out, where.
See, we
Every
pay-
dollar that was spent on the water. they
See,
did
one
not-
of the things we need to look at so that the public understands, we pay some of our employees out of the water fund, and we should. They work in the water department. Allison, a part of her pay, and Jack Barnes, a part of his pay as department heads comes out of the water fund. There's no issue with that. It makes perfect sense. Is the percent right? That's what we got to look at. Are there other employees getting paid? I'm sure there will be. How much are we paying them? If we're going to go to the doctors for a physical, you don't walk in and keep your skirt on. You know what I mean? We need to go in, I'm sorry. We need to go in and strip it naked and do what we need to do and get to the bottom of it and then rebuild and go from there. I think it's part and parcel with the whole thing. If we don't do it all together, there's always going to be that thing out there that it wasn't right or there's something else out there. We need to take all the doubt out of this. And I don't know if it's ever been done. Is a more in-depth audit ever been done on our water other than what's
Other than the yearly one,
The
I
yearly?
don't believe so,
No.
or a managerial.
managerial?
No,
Oh, like you say, we had that a few years ago, we had that guy.
but that was just
was managerial.
managerial.
Managerial, that costs $10,000 or $12,000.
Yeah.
10, I believe.
Yeah.
$10,000.
I think we
How much
capped
is
it
a
at
forensic
12.
audit? What's it, I mean, does
What's
it really
Plant
tell
Moran
us?
charges each year?
I'm sorry?
Plant Moran charges us for our audit, how much?
I want to say about 40, 50.
That's exactly
something
what I
like
think
that.
it is also. So that's
So
an
my
audit
shooting from-
that's not giving you the answers you want either. So I'm guessing it's going to be higher than that.
Yeah, because, well, they're taking snapshots of each day. They're not going through the whole year, day by day.
Well, let's
You want to.
Let's talk to Plant Moran. Maybe we need to scale it back a little bit. If they come back and say $100,000, then of course, Feder could be an idiot. So, of course, we don't want a $100,000 audit. We don't want to spend all the people's money. Maybe we need to roll it back and they have suggestions of what I am looking for. And you may come back and say, Dave, this is what we need. And I'll say, okay, let's do it. So, okay? But I agree getting price.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just mention, because I believe I've made this misstatement, or they're used improper words in reports to city council and possibly in public. This $1.3 million, Plant Moran was not conducting an audit and said, hey, there's $1.3 million there. What's that doing there? That's not the way it went. Plant Moran took the figures we gave them for water that went through the consumers' meters, took the figures Detroit gave us as water that they sold to us, and they said, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've misstated this more than once, and they said, you have a potential for a liability here. We suggest you set $1.3 million off to the side. Their audit does not say we owe Detroit $1.3 million. In fact, I think they use percentages when they just kind of, but the point being, it was not discovered that the city of Garden City had reaped this $1.3 million, $5 million profit, whatever the heck it is. It was a matter of, you've got a potential liability here, you need to set this money aside. So we set it aside. I just want to make that clear. We did not overcharge the citizens. We're still trying to figure out how we came up with these two different figures. But Plant Moran said there is a potential. A wise city council will set aside this money until we figure out what's going on, so you're not surprised. Is that fairly accurate, Ms. Bettis?
That is correct, sir. So it's just a amount that they suggested as a potential liability. It is not. However, we did have money coming in, and so we had more revenue than we had expenses. All of that money, as I've said many times before, goes into the water fund and simply sets to put a positive pressure on the water rates, so that if we do have additional money available, then that just helps the water rates go down over the period that the 5-year period that we spread it out. So that rates don't go like this, and this, and this. Some of the things that council has requested here tonight and before are available and in your budgets, in your people sheets, and all of those things. So I welcome the opportunity for anybody to review those forensically or otherwise. And perhaps when we have our water budget meeting, we can go over it a little bit more in detail, and it may answer some of the questions, and then we can let a forensic person come in and say what they see. That's always a good opportunity.
So we can get a cost of what that would cost?
I can try. I've never heard the term forensic audit, but I will get with Plant Moran and some other people and see what kind of things are out there, and I'll share all the information.
We'll come back with the cost for an audit, and then we're also going to look at 2 other communities to see the difference in the sewer rate.
At least 2.
At least 2.
And bring back the information about the meters.
Yep.
Yes.
So we could hit all of that in the water budget.
Yes, I do, I guess in an effort to protect myself, want to just say, this does take time. So just bear with me as I gather all that information from the other communities, as I gather the information from Plant Moran. I will certainly endeavor to give you everything that you asked for.
Okay. Ms. Lynn?
The day after tomorrow's good, thank you so much.
Just a good question. Would it behoove us to ask Plant Moran to come in? Maybe they could explain more in depth, because they put the water model together and they've done the audits, and maybe there's stuff there that we don't recognize because it's done in accountant form. Maybe they could explain some of this?
Would you guys like to have them come in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Separate from the water budget?
Huh?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so maybe at our next regular council meeting?
Yeah.
But not the meeting where we talk about the water budget in particular?
No.
Right.
Okay.
Okay?
Because they may be able
Yeah.
to shed some light on it in layman's terms
Well, I
rather
know,
than
I know for a
accounting term.
fact, Jay Lee, you and I were here when they put the water model together. I know that we misused it for a while, and then Allison got wonderful staff that all of a sudden used the model correctly. But the rest, nobody else has seen that model.
You're right. You're right.
So it would be a wonderful way for
Weren't they
the
supposed to
rest
come
of
back
council
anyway?
to look at that model and know what we're talking about.
Talk to us anyway.
Okay.
And,
Enough on water tonight? Okay, let's move on to C agenda. C1, proclamation designating May as Motorcycle Awareness Month.
Mayor?
Ms. Squires?
I move to adopt the attached proclamation declaring May as Motorcycle Awareness Month in Garden City, Michigan.
Support.
Support from Ms. Lynch. Would you like to read it first, and then we'll take a vote?
Sure, if I may. Designation May as Motorcycle Awareness Month. Whereas the City of Garden City has many citizens who are concerned about motorcycle safety for touring, recreation, and economical transportation. And whereas May is the nationally recognized month motorcycles become more prevalent on our streets. The need to be aware of their presence is of the utmost urgency. And whereas, due to the Pure Michigan advertising campaign and the modification of the Michigan helmet law, many more out-of-state motorcycle riders are visiting our state and using our roads. And whereas an overwhelming number of car-motorcycle accidents could be avoided with due regard, respect, and awareness of motorcycles on the streets and intersections of our city. And whereas the inclusion of motorcycle awareness provided by ABATE of Michigan as a district part of the driver's education curriculum and motorcycle rider education programs will help to promote safe driving and motorcycle riding practices. And whereas it is in the interest of our community and the citizens of Garden City to note increase in the amount of motorcycle traffic as we enter the warm weather months to enable the reduction of accidents and injuries involving motorcycles. Now therefore, we, the Mayor and Council of the City of Garden City, do hereby on this 15th day in the month of April in the year 2013 proclaim May as Motorcycle Awareness Month.
Very good. Any discussion from council? We have a lot of motorcycle riders. We got the American Legion riders.
Yes, if I
Go
may.
ahead.
Most riders?
Yes, the American
Yeah.
Legion riders I know are very happy about this, as I'm sure the Faith riders are.
Yep.
And ABATE. And I myself, having been involved in 2 motorcycle accidents in the past, urge everyone to please, not just in May, but all summer long, to watch for motorcycles. That's it.
Any other discussion from council? From the general public? Mr. Wald?
Councilperson Square, I appreciate what you said all year round. As a bike rider myself, it's really strange that, believe it or not, this little pin right here, if you got something hanging from your dash or anything like that, that pin can hide a motorcycle with a sidecar on it, and you'll never see it. And thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Bettis?
Wait,
Council,
there's someone,
Is there one more?
did you want to speak?
Sir, come on up.
In the spring of 1979, the Motorcycle Riders Advocacy Group, ABATE of Michigan, in conjunction with Motorcycle Safety Foundation in Maryland and the Michigan State University, initiated the first classes for potential motorcycle safety instructors in Michigan, outside of MSU. The instructor classes were held at what at that time Garden City West High School, with the first motorcycle riders training courses held there a few months later. The motorcycle safety classes have run continuously since then at what is now Radcliffe Center for Schoolcraft College. For 25 or so new motorcycle safety instructors certified in Garden City form the basis for the motorcycle safety program now, representing Southeast Michigan, known as Metro Detroit Motorcycle Safety Consortium. Administrated by Schoolcraft College and nationally recognized winning program is now the model for most of the state. These programs, now available throughout Michigan, provide training, bikes, classroom, and workbooks for both new and experienced motorcycle riders. Over 75,000 new experienced riders have gone through the program in the Metro Consortium. Since this first class is held in Garden City, with about 40% of all motorcycle training in the state coming of the southeast area, including Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb, Washtenaw, and Monroe counties. In addition, ABATE has developed and funded motorcycle awareness programs in which volunteers go to private drivers' education schools and instruct new drivers on motorcycle riders in their classrooms and traffic mixes. So the next time you see a bunch of motorcyclists funded comes on weekends, next time you see motorcyclists behind orange cones on weekends at Radcliffe, remember, we're there to have lived and have fun. Thanks for recognizing me as Motorcycle Awareness. Jim Rhodes, MSF Motorcycle Safety Coach and ABATE Legislative Instructor, Vince Consiglio, Motorcycle Safety Coach Trainer and President of ABATE of Michigan, and Mike Fizz-Prisblo, ABATE of Michigan Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Mrs. Weissnick?
I'd like to commend the Legion Riders for the lovely program, along with you, Mayor, that they put on for our veterans on Veterans Day. That was one of the nicest events I went to, and I'd like to thank them.
Thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Dodge?
Aye.
Councilmember Fett?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. Item C2, purchase of service credit.
Mayor?
Ms. Lynch?
I move to approve the purchase of Municipal Employee Retirement System Service Credit of 5 years by Paul Diaz in accordance with the application for additional credit service dated March 1st, 2013, and authorize the city manager to execute all necessary documents related to this application.
Support.
Support from Ms. Dodge. Discussion from council. From the general public. Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Dodge?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Fett?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. Item C3, purchase of city financial software.
Mayor, I just did want to mention, I did say that we are trying to get the taxes for July 1st done, but just because we do this tonight does not necessarily mean we're going to be able to accomplish that. It'll make it easier, but it's not necessarily going to be the case. I just want to make sure that was clear.
Okay.
Mayor,
Mr. Jones?
I move to approve the purchase of a financial software system from BSNA.net Municipal Software System, with required upgrades at a cost of $262,774.23 over 3 years, and authorize the city manager to execute any necessary documents.
Support.
Support from Ms. Lynch. Discussion from council.
Mayor?
Ms. Dodge?
I do agree with this. However, I think we still need, a lot of this is coming out of the water fund. A lot of this is coming out of the CIP. I still think we need to work on those budgets before we approve things for the future. My opinion.
Anybody else from council? Mr. Fetter?
I've softened my stance a little bit sitting here yelling about the water fund, so I feel better now, but the money's in the CIP now. I agree, we need to look at it, but it's there now. So even if it's not there in the future, we have it now. So, you know what I mean? So I'm going to vote for it.
Okay. Anybody else from council? From the general public? Mr. Wallace? Mr. Baco?
Every year, the same thing. Every year, upgrade. Last year did the same thing. Every year, upgrade. Can you live on what you got now?
No.
Every year, last year did the same thing. Why every year do this, every year? Can you stop and realize you didn't have one last year, upgrade? I give up.
Thank you, Mr. Baco. Mr. Wallace?
I totally for the $40,000 improvement for the the money for the, for the improvement for that. The $40,000 maintenance fee almost pays for the machine itself in about 5 years. You know, I got a few questions though. Are we going, when we install this system, are we going to run backup? Because in a business, we usually run 3 months backup. If it's not quality, you always ran 6 or 7. How much does that cost? Can we do it without hiring additional people or putting more people on? The new contract with the new people, what's the maintenance cost on that a year for improvements? And if so, if there are, can we get it to them to estimate how many hours that they're, like the World Systems charge you $40,000 maintenance, just supposing that the new company charges some maintenance fees or support fees, can we get them to tell us about how many hours they think that's going to be? And if we don't use those hours, give us back credit for it. I mean, the New World Systems never did do that. But it's something to think about, and how are we going to handle the backups, and how long do you think you'll have to run backups before you go live? That's just a few questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Anybody else?
Mayor? Can we
Ms.
give
Dunn?
everybody what the breakdown is on this? The total.
Would you like to read it?
cost? Yeah. The
Go ahead.
total cost of the system is $262,774.23 over 3 years. The CIP, the first year is going to be a little over $94,000. Second year will be a little over $58,000. Third year, a little over $58,000. Coming out of the water fund in 13-14 will be almost $22,000. Next year would be $14,000, and the year after would be $14,000.
Okay.
So that people know where the money is coming from.
Anybody else? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Dodge?
Nay.
Councilmember Fetter?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. C4, GCYA 2013 Field Use Agreement.
Mayor?
Ms. Dodge?
I move to approve the proposed 2013 field use agreement between the Garden City Youth Athletic Association, otherwise known as GCYAA, and the City of Garden City, and to authorize the acting city manager to execute any necessary agreements.
Support.
Support.
With
Mr.
the
Kerwin?
changes.
With the changes.
With
right.
the changes.
Support from Mr. Kerwin. Discussion from council. From the general public, Mr. Wysick.
A couple of things, please. If I ask any questions that you've already discussed, it's because I can't hear a good part of the discussions that take place. So bear with me in that respect, or start talking louder, whichever pleases you most. There is a common thing that rings often here at the table that says Garden City for Garden City, which would lead someone to believe, who's reasonable, that Garden City and its city fathers takes care of the people within the city. Now, I have a lot of experience with the Garden City Youth Athletic Association, having worked with them in close unison from 1967 until 1991. I didn't hear any discussions that gave me an answer to how much does this agreement provide the city services in dollars for the Youth Association. How much? Has anybody asked the Youth Association how much the people within the program and their families? 800 kids. 800 kids. I heard that it was approximately $3,000 or $4,000 or thereabouts for this agreement to aid the program. That comes out to a few dollars per kid in this budget. Is that the value? Is that the value you place on the youth of this city? You have a $15 million budget, a little bit more. You have a $3 million surplus, and you're spending $3 or $4, willing to spend on an agreement, $3 or $4 per kid. I was almost tempted when I saw this to bring another roll of toilet paper up here. I really was, when he convinced me otherwise. And for that, I thank him. But that's what you're giving the kids, the toilet paper. That's what you're giving. You would think that our future, the future of Garden City, the youth that we're raising, for every one of them, of you, what is your most valuable possession in your family? What's your most valuable possession? Every one of you would answer, your children. Every one of you. Yet you're willing, because I don't think you know how much you're spending. And you don't know how much the City of Gardens, the Youth Association is spending on their kids. And you're going to vote on this? You're going to vote on it today. You don't even know what the background, I believe, is. There hasn't been a lot of discussion that I've been privy to. But Garden City, for Garden City, if you don't mean it, stop saying it. And I would tell you that on item number 5, I'm going to be asking you the same things. I'm going to be asking you the same things. We owe it to the people who are listening. We owe it to the people. When Winnie and I pulled out of our driveway today, we looked down to Maplewood, and I said, Winnie, look at it.
Yeah, 30 seconds, Mr. Weising.
Look at all the kids. The cars parked along Maplewood. And look at all the kids playing soccer. I would tell you that when we bought our home next to Maplewood Center, we bought it because we're next to a school And that's where the kids spent their recess. The people before us, the principal said, used to raise heck. I said, thank God he moved out and you folks moved in.
Thank you, Mr. Wysick. Your time is up.
Okay, just review this agreement and be more generous out of the money you have. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Lynch?
I need to make a comment to Mr. Wysick because he probably couldn't hear it back there. I'll wait until he turns around. Mr. Wysick, on number 5, we amended that, and it says GCYAA will maintain clean and safe bathrooms. We are providing the other supplies. I don't know if you heard that or not.
I did.
Okay, because when you referred to number 5,
Well, that's,
I wasn't sure.
That's the next one on the Garden City Soccer Club.
Let's talk about the soccer club.
Agreement.
I'm sorry, we were on GCYAA. That's why I thought you were
And
talking
that's-
that number.
And I was addressing
Both of
the
them.
toilet paper
Okay.
issue.
Anybody else? Mr. Buckner?
Maybe I misunderstood too. I got a bad ear too. We're only going to provide for the softball and not for the soccer club? Is that?
We're only working on the one contract first. So first we're
Okay,
doing GCYAA.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but the chief here, we had a discussion here one night when you called me to the side and said that you were working something out in the middle of February.
next.
You would have an answer back.
Soccer's coming.
It's next.
Okay. The soccer starts soon. And it's,
Anybody else? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Downs?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Fetich?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. Okay, item C5, Garden City Soccer Field Use Agreement.
Mayor,
Ms. Dodge?
I move to approve the proposed 2013 field use agreement between the Garden City Soccer Club and the City of Garden City, and to authorize the acting city manager to execute necessary documents.
Support.
Support from Ms. Squires. Discussion from council. From the general public.
This is where,
Mr. Wysick.
Before you vote on this issue, I wonder if somebody at the table would review what's involved in the agreement. Again, what is the city contributing? What's the youth association? I mean, the soccer club, how many children are involved in their program? And what value do you place on that program? It did not appear to me that the expressions that I had on the last agenda item didn't ring too many years, and that's a shame. Go down to the baseball fields. Go down to the soccer fields, if you have the courage. If you have the courage to tell them they're worth $4 a child for their program. That's what you as a city have placed on the young people of our community. $4. And yet, when Mr. McClary was leaving on the selling of his contract, you paid him $4,000, which I argued against. $4,000 hop, skip, and jumping out of our treasury paid. $4,000 and $4 for our children. Think before you vote again. And I even hope you would bring up some amendments for the Youth Association. How can you have a $3 million surplus and for 800 kids or more when you involve, not spend a few more dollars on the kids? Or I challenge you to go there at the fields and tell them the city which you represent is giving you $4 to support your program, and the mothers and fathers who put out hundreds if not thousands of
30 seconds, Mr. Weiss.
for their children. Hundreds. And that involves some in basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, and then you have the kids in hockey. Cheap. Like a little Easter chicken. Cheap. Beep, cheap, cheap, cheap. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Moore?
I just got one thing to say. Somebody enlightened me up there. I thought y'all talked to the soccer club and the baseball, DCY, and this is agreement everybody come to. Somebody enlightened me if you didn't. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Collard? Mr. Collard, President of the GCYA.
To be honest with you, I mean, I appreciate the support that Mr. Wysick's bringing. I think there's definitely some confusion here. We did talk, Chief and I, Mr. Walker, Mayor Walker, you were involved. We did come to an agreement. It was a much more friendlier agreement this year than it was last year, in recognition that last year we kind of had to put it together in a quick time frame. I'm kind of confused myself, Mr. Wysick. I mean, I appreciate your support. I'd be happy to stay after and we could talk numbers. You guys, like I said, it's leaps and bounds above. The city is doing much more this year for us, and honestly, I can't speak for the soccer club. I don't know what their agreement is, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to stick around and we can talk about it. So, but I do thank you for our support and the changes made. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Dodd?
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Fettig?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Curley,
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. C7, lawn maintenance contract, I'm sorry, C6, elevator preventative maintenance contract.
Mayor?
Ms. Lynch?
I move to award a contract for a 3-year period for elevator preventative maintenance to Great Lakes Elevator of Williamston, Michigan, in the amount not to exceed $7,939.89, and authorize the city manager to sign any necessary documents.
Support.
Support from Ms. Dodge. Any discussion from council? From the general public?
How come it's so expensive?
Because our elevators have to be certified by the state to be safe for the residents and the employees that use them.
How come it went up?
That's the fee that the elevator companies charge, Mr. Bacco.
It's for 4 years.
Anybody else? Ms. Bettis?
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Dodd?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Fettig?
Aye.
Councilmember Curley,
Aye.
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. C7, lawn maintenance contract.
Mayor?
Ms. Squires?
I move to award a 3-year lawn maintenance contract to Vivid Maintenance of Dearborn, Michigan, in an annual amount not to exceed $38,000, and to U.S. Lawns of Livonia, Michigan, in an annual amount not to exceed $10,000, and authorize the city manager to sign all necessary documents.
Support.
Support from Ms. Lynch. Discussion from council. From the general public. Mr. Wysick.
I said earlier, I often use the thought of Garden City or Garden City. Here's a maintenance contract awarded outside of the city of Garden City. I take it for granted that you put this out for bids. And were there any Garden City firms that responded with a bid? No. There were none. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Pettis?
Councilmember Squires?
Aye.
Councilmember Lynch?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Dodge?
No.
Councilmember Feder?
Aye.
Councilmember Kerwin?
Aye.
Mayor Walker?
Aye. We will move on to public comments that were not on the agenda. If you wish to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name. There's a 5-minute time limit. Anybody wishing to speak under public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Sharon Michaelis. I live on Gilman in Garden City. This is not, it's got to do with the water, but it's not anything to do with the rates. I want to know, what is the limit for non-payment? I have a resident on Helen behind me, rental home, that has a $2,500 balance water bill, has not made a payment since March of 2012. I know in Canton, after so long, they shut the water off. I want to know why we don't do that in Garden City. I spoke with a representative in our water department. She made the statement, at any given time, we are in a deficit of $1 million that we still have to pay the city of Detroit for water, okay? If we owe them $2 million, we have to send $2 million, okay. But there are still residents that are $1 million behind in water payment. What is the cutoff? Nobody can answer, okay.
This isn't question and answer time. This is
Okay.
your opportunity to make a comment or statement. I
Okay.
will answer that on the round table.
Okay.
This is your opportunity to make a comment or
Okay,
statement.
thank you.
Okay.
Also, our unit is 748 gallons. Westland's unit is 1,000. Dearborn Heights is 748 per unit. And we pay $2.47 more than Westland does for sewage disposal. That's 25%. They have 1,000 gallons, we have 748 gallons. That's a 25% more that we're paying. I'm sorry, Garden City is way off whack, and I have to agree with Mr. Feder. Please look into that. Also, I asked how many rental homes we have in Garden City. I guess it's 10% rental homes. To me, I feel like it's more than 10% because evidently they must be all in my area. I have spoke to Mayor Walker on the conditions of these rental homes at times. These owners of these rental homes don't live in Garden City, so they really don't care. I care. I bought my home almost 50 years ago. I take pride in my home. I keep my home up. I keep my property up. A lot of the rental homes are not kept up, and I think we need more ordinances. We do have ordinances in Garden City that I don't think are met. I think we need more ordinances for rental homes in Garden City. Or I think the owners need to be notified, and especially when the water bills are not getting paid. I don't even think the people that are renting this home on Helen even know that their renters have a $2,500 water bill. They live in, I believe it's Mount Clemens. I'm not positive on that. I'm sure you can look if you wanted the address. I don't need to say it now. But I feel the renter should be notified, not the renter, but the owner should be notified that their renter is $2,500 in the red. And I would like to know what is the cutoff on non-payment of rent water. You're saying fair. okay? Is it fair to all of us that pay our water bills? To people that owe maybe $1,000, $1,500, $2,000? They're not paying their water bill, but I pay my water bill every 2 months. I don't think this is fair. I really don't. I think the rental homes ought to be looked into. I think the water rates ought to be looked into. So please do that. I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Moeller.
You can't judge us by Canton. They separated all their storm drains, they put in sump pumps. You can't do it. Westland is about the same price, has a little higher on water actually. If you want, I've got the thing right there I'm showing you because my daughter lives over there. And there was something else very important I wanted to. Oh yeah, anybody know who won that ball game last Monday night? I forgot. I didn't get to see it. You know, the NCAA double championship there. Nobody don't know who won.
Some team from Kentucky, I think.
Seemed like it was somebody that had a L, and I don't think it was a blue. Thank you.
Mr. Molnar, I'm going to ask you to sit down. I believe I owe you a coffee, don't I? Mr. Bacco.
My cousin in Dearborn, he's got one meter, water meter, irrigated water line, 1 meter at home in Dearborn, 1 meter. But how come he got 2 meters? Do they, is that 2 separate bills for that meter, or 1 bill and 2 meters?
1 bill for 2 meters?
Or is that 2 separate meters, 2 separate bills? In Dearborn, got 1 meter in the filter system. That's what you always you pay for 1 meter in Dearborn. You find out what's going on, Dearborn. And the second thing, hey, Mr. Chief, yeah, I was up at Warren Issue Road. All your signs are down, except for one sign.
If I could help you, Mr. Bacco, before the meeting, he was telling us that the, I believe it's our sign that has all the different things on the bottom, like the girls' softball's missing.
It's gone.
There's a few of our slats are there. I guess they're, I don't know if the city took them down or if they're.
No, it's still up.
The sign's up, but the slats are missing.
Somebody goes, bye. You please check the meter, water meter in Dearborn. It's got 1 meter. You pay 1 bill for the meter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bacco. Anybody else? Mrs. Wysick?
Mayor and council, I sit in the audience waiting for my 5 minutes to speak and what to say that doesn't warrant me being thrown out of a meeting. I'm thinking, who is running this show? Mr. Wallace and Mr. Buckner were told to sit down because they stated other cities are talking about us, how our council is run. That's the truth. My granddaughter plays soccer on a travel team, and I tell my daughter, and I don't like doing this, don't tell anyone I live in Garden City, because I don't want to hear from them other women. What's going on over there? What's going on over there? And what they say is not very nice. Even in Traverse City, and Mrs. Lynch, I spoke to you on this at one time, they were talking how we tear everything down, library, log cabin, swimming pool. What's happening over there? I don't answer them. I tried to tell you, you don't want to hear. You don't want to hear. You only want the kissy-faced guys who come up here and say how great you are. You can't learn much that way. Now I would like to talk about what was said at one of our council meetings and how you behave. The word collusion was used. It's a reprehensible word to throw around. Collusion, here's the dictionary. A secret agreement and cooperation for fraudulent or deceitful purposes. Deceit and fraud. Where are the collusion you're speaking of so casually? And to accuse some council members of deceit and fraud, what arrogance. Who were the council members you speak of? The 5 who voted yes, or the 2 who voted no? Mayor, this is what your professional meetings have come to. I think you should start doing something a little different. Allow the people to speak, answer questions, and let's get this city going again. I don't even know, I'm trying to talk Ray into not coming to any more council meetings. I mean, nobody cares. Nobody wants to listen. You say something, you think I'm talking against you. You know I was for you, Mayor. You know that. And you throw me out for saying the Constitution. I'll defend our Constitution any day.
Thank you, Mrs. Weissach. Anybody else? Mr. Buckner.
Al Buckner. City manager, you spoke a while ago that Platinum Moran's didn't tell you to keep the money, then give it back to the citizens who you charge it from. And about the audit, the state will do it for free, and they'll do it right. In discussion with Detroit, they're already reviewing us, and so far they have not found nothing wrong on their end, and they're going to let us know about it when it's done. Also, to let you know, they will come out here and discuss and answer any question. I think it would be a good time to invite them out when we have Platinum Moran to come out. Accountability, true transparency, missing millions of dollars. Tell me I'm not having a nightmare. Garden City budget is coming up before council to vote on. We need to consider not only the present state of Garden City, but also the future. The real estate market of Garden City looks dim for the next 2 or 3 years. Because of this, 4.4% less revenue will be coming in this year and years to come. Have we considered about the closing of Mercury Lincoln dealership? That's going to be a big hit for the city as well. Was that included in the 4.4%? Last week we learned about the $2.7 million that the city has in cash that is slated for the fiscal year, plus the 5% revenue from the state. We should have several $1 million, not just $2.7 million. We're a long ways from rebounding like other cities, since the DDA in the city has not been very aggressive in getting new businesses to come to Garden City. Why hasn't we heard of a focus point or a plan to entice new businesses into the city? Businesses that do wish to come into our city has to struggle to get approved. We've seen it in the past. What plans do we have to attract new residents? Well, I got an idea I'll throw out to you for a starter. Do we have a pothole plan for the side streets this year before summertime? New data that came out recently shows that the average home selling in Garden City for the last 2 or 3 years range from $50,000 to $55,000 price range. People are reluctant to purchase homes when the taxes are high and the water rates are the second highest around. Some of us get all excited when a home sells in one day after going on the market. I will get excited when this becomes a trend and not just a fuzzy feeling. Look at the latest data on real estate. Westland, Livonia, Dearborn Heights, and Wayne are selling 25% plus more homes than their value or much higher. This is why it's so important that we get our dead Chamber of Commerce up and alive and running, light a fire on the DDA to get a plan to inspire business growth into the city. Is that too much to ask? We should be thinking about our future so we don't have to ask for another tax millage. Just like a family, the city needs to learn to budget. Cut expenses, don't spend money until we have to, not because it's in the bank or it's coming from the water billing or taxes. make wise decisions on departmental requests, lawsuits, and overall function of the city. Over some 20 years ago, I came to Garden City and I built my home. In 2008, I was taxed on $86,000 and my taxes were $2,720. 4 years later, I'm taxed on $40,500 and my taxes are $2,335. My home value, just like yours, has lost $45,500 in the last 4 years, but my taxes has only decreased $385. So who do I blame? How about a school millage, library millage, fire and police millage, special assessment for rubbish, and 2 special assessments for street lighting? And don't forget about the compound 10% yearly rate hike in our water bill that we get 6 times a year. That's another expense on top of being overtaxed. Do you know what I need to be done? Do you know what I think needs to be done? First, come November, let's select 6 new council people. And then, let's hope that we come in and they bring us in no new taxes for 2 years, get rid of the 10% water rate, do away with the special light assessment, have the DDA come up with a plan to entice new business into the city, get the Chamber of Commerce up and running and working with the present businesses that we have left, and most important, have an open city government, true transparency, and with no breaking of the Charter, Open Meetings Act, and state law.
30 seconds, Mr. Buckner.
Then let the citizens have 10 minutes for public comment without fear of being tossed out, ever. Last week, we heard a grand speech on racism. If you ask me, we witnessed something just as bad. Mr. Baco, I'm sorry for what happened to you. It should not happen. You come out here, you come out sometimes holding to the wall to get to your seat, and then you can't speak your heart. Last time I checked, this was still a freedom to speak. We're under no dictatorship.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Mrs. King?
I think you know me, but my name is Pam King. Been in Garden City a long time. I've been a realtor a lot longer. So I'm here to try to make it easier for people to understand what's going on in Garden City, contrary to what some people have been told. In Garden City, 508 homes were sold last year. Currently, this year, as of January 1st, there are only 49 houses left on the market right now. Out of those 49 houses, oh, and by the way, 113 have sold since January 1st. Okay? I've got all the figures here. There's only one place you can get honest material on this, and it's called RealComp. That's the Realtors Association. We have all the figures that go out to Zillow, to ABC, to whatever. However, they don't keep up their end of the bargain by keeping facts straight. If you want real information, true information, that's something that can be believed, since it does come from RealComp for all situations, okay? All you have to do is go to moveinmichigan.com. That is the public version of our real estate program, our MLS. So that's where you're going to get the honest information. I think it's pretty evident, and especially I did a few things just to, we talk about Westland, we talk about Livonia. Well, the average day on the market, so everybody understands, in Garden City, are you ready for this, guys? 38 days. Okay, that's all it takes to sell a house. Now, you've got houses out there that have been on the market for 200 days. You've also got ones that have sold in 1 day. Okay, so it balances out. It's 38 days. For Westland, it's 49 days. And for Livonia, it is 60 days. We don't have a problem. We're doing good. Things have rolled along. We don't have a lot out there that's really bad. We've had a lot of investors come in, pick up the garbage, turn it around, sell it for a higher price. It's what we need. We're not in the depths of whatever, okay? We're doing okay. And I'm here to tell you, and if anybody needs the information, I've got it, or you can look it up for yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. King. Anybody else? Mr. Wysick.
I'll waive the other gentleman.
Mr. Collard.
I can verify what she's saying because I'm trying to buy a house in Garden City. So that's true. I'm sure one of you guys will bring this up, but I'd be remiss not to mention it in case you didn't. I have put a challenge to the GCY coaches, and I'm also a behavior supervisor at Farmington Elementary. We're bringing out a bunch of kids this weekend. It's Garden City cleanup. So I'm offering a pizza party to try to help them along with their decision whether they're going to come out Saturday or not. So two things. I would ask everybody to get involved in the cleanup for Garden City Saturday. And also please for the drivers to be careful because there will be quite a few, hopefully, quite a few young people out there helping. So, and that's it. And I do support the audit for the water. So that's it. Thank you. Yes.
What time?
You know what? It's the DDA that's headed up. I believe it's 9 a.m.
Yep.
Okay. And we're kind of setting our own agenda. I don't know what the real honest game plan is for everybody. I think it's just, you know, I don't know if they have set places to be, but we have some target areas. If someone's there, we'll move on.
Okay.
But I'm just telling most of my people that are coming out to probably start at the schools and move out through the neighborhoods.
Thank
So,
you.
I have a question for
Yes,
you,
sir.
sir. What do
Yes.
you have them put on the pizza?
everything they
All
want.
right, we're
Everything
there.
they want.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Collard. Anybody else? Mr. Wysick.
Garden City for Garden City. What a joke. In the Observer, it says, Sparks crosses the city limit now with a new location. Sparks Collision was in Garden City for 23 years. At Cherry Hill and Merriman. And just a short time ago, about a year and a half ago, I remember well because I was up here at the podium in their favor. There was put out for bid. Some of you will hear and will remember that. He said they really needed for their business. They live in Garden City. He said he was spending a tremendous amount of money for gas on his vehicles in Garden City. And what did we do? We gave it because the report said they didn't meet all of the specifications. 23 years in the business here. They've moved out to Westland. Evidently not going to have any problems at Westland. And he said they're adding 13 new jobs with the new location in Westland, and he hopes to add even more. Garden City for Garden City. What a joke. We were here. He was here pleading. He said, hey, let's try to work with them. Didn't happen. We've lost the business. Now maybe we can get a tattoo parlor or some kind of good business in that spot. Make Garden City attractive. Garden City for Garden City. Several weeks now I've talked about the FOIA request. It was going to be looked into because Garden City is charging 10 times as much as some communities. I guess you're still looking into it. Garden City for Garden City, unless you want to find out something about your city, then you're going to pay for something a lot of people give free. Garden City for Garden City. We talked about, or I did, I made a suggestion of setting a regular schedule of council members and workshops. That would aid the residents in their family planning. That's what we used to do years back. For many years, we did that. It will also pull it into the fiasco which occurs and did occur within the last month when you're trying to settle which date or dates to hold budget meetings. It was Wednesday, then somebody couldn't make Wednesday, let's make it Saturday, let's make it Monday, and why don't you just set dates so that everybody knows it ahead of time? And they'll be looking forward to it. And then you won't have to spend 45 minutes trying to find a date. It just makes a reasonable ending. But of course, reasoning around here never seems to prevail. This city council continues their stubborn rules and policies, which are inexcusably started to make it difficult for people coming to the podium to have and present ideas. It continues. First of all, you set the public statements at the end of the meeting, especially senior side a little bit.
Yeah, 30 seconds,
hard
Mr.
to
Weiss.
the meeting. Pardon me?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
But that's okay. You don't care about the seniors or anybody, because you really don't want us to be up here. There's no transparency among this group. If they can set up some roadblocks, you will. I used to try to say some things under community events. Now you had to write in ahead of time. If you can make some statements on the community events, why can't we?
Your time's up, Mr. Weiss. Anybody else? Mr. Wallace.
I'd like in the next budget meeting, if the people in attendance could get a copy of the budget. And more people see something that's just like prayer. Person needs prayer, the more people praise for you, the better off you are. And sometimes if you people in the audience can look at figures works the same way as prayer. The more people looks at it, is the more opportunity you have to catch mistakes or save some money. And there's one thing about the water, since it didn't go to seat of the agenda, and you've already mentioned the agenda anyway. Take a look at the depreciation, $900,000 a year for 7 years in a row. It's quite higher than any of the other cities, and they've got miles and miles more water pipe than we do and everything. And I know that our depreciation is based on a 50-year and a 100-year straight line. So take a look at that, and that may be a problem too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. King.
Better hurry up, your time's almost up.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, Chief. Chief, I want to thank your patrolmen. Please pass my congratulations on to them. There's not a prettier sight I can see on Henry Ruff than their flashing lights. It is very well appreciated. A couple of statements were made at the last meeting. I couldn't respond to them because I didn't even know they were made because I was on my way up here. Somebody made a statement that it's a good thing I'm not on council because I was degrading people and it would cost the city another $20 million. I don't know what the first $20 million lawsuit was about, but I can assure you that I will never make a racist statement from the council bench because there's no way in the world you would ever get me to run for council again. You guys are all safe. I don't understand it. There's another statement about Mr. Napoleon and Miss Kim Worthy. The statement was something like Mr. Buckner, as fast as he could read, couldn't read all their credentials in 15 minutes. I'm going to try to recite them from memory. Kim Worthy graduated from the University of Michigan with an undergraduate degree, graduated from Notre Dame with a law degree. Mr. Napoleon graduated from what is now known as Mercy College with a degree in criminology and got his law degree from Detroit College of Law. That's it. Yes, he had some additional training. None of it was matriculation. So I did it in just a couple of seconds, and it wasn't that hard. That's all I got.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, city manager's report.
Your Honor, just a couple of things. First, City Council I need to know, is city council expecting a written city manager report every week regardless of what I have to say or don't have to say? Are you expecting that?
I think the online to me is fine.
Okay, I just, I know that Mr. McClary was trying to publish one every week, and I just need to know if that's the standard for city council, that you want one every week. At the end of the last week, I didn't publish one because I really didn't have anything meaningful, and a couple of council members brought it to my attention. So I just need to know on that.
Personally, if you have nothing to say, I'm fine with it.
I appreciate those reports, they're very good. If we got a report before a business meeting, I think that's plenty often enough. We certainly don't need to have them more frequently than that, I don't believe.
And if you don't have anything new, just send us an email that says, don't expect anything.
Nothing changed from the last meeting, the last report.
All right, well, speaking of city manager reports, a couple of weeks ago, I sent you a copy of a draft dispatch merger agreement where Wayne and Garden City would merge with Westland. I did get some feedback from Councilmember Dodge, and I also submitted it to the city attorney to review. What I need to know right now is, are you in agreement, I guess, in principle, not necessarily with the details that are contained in that draft agreement, but with the concept of merging with the city of Westland for dispatch operations as a cost-saving measure?
Absolutely.
I think that's basically the question.
Only if the things in the contract can be worked out.
There are some issues in the contract that Mrs. Dodge had that deal with control, decision-making.
Employees.
Well, how does that, aren't they gonna, are those people still gonna be our employees?
No.
I didn't think so.
No, they will become city of Westland employees.
What, could I ask?
And they'd be at the bottom of the tier. They'd have a 6 months where we haven't quite figured out yet if they get benefits or not for that 6 months. They'd be in like probation. They'd be the first ones to be let go. You read the contract. Mr. Cronin found a lot of the things the chief and I found. It's a horrid contract.
Makes them the red-headed stepchild.
But I am accurate in saying the
We want to
concept,
pursue it, but we want the details.
the move
Theory.
and the cost savings.
In
that
theory.
is the end result.
It's got to be right for our employees, but we want to pursue the cost savings, but we need to see the details, we need to agree on the details.
But those are not our employees.
They have not been our
No,
employees since
they're-
July of 2011.
There are employees for the segment that they worked for us, and they're in the retirement system. That's it. After they went to
Right.
Wayne, they're Wayne employees.
And I believe Ms. Bettis is going to answer a council member's request regarding bonds when he gets here. That's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Dodge?
Really quick, in response to the water and the payments, there isn't a limit per se. It is every year it's turned over to the taxes for non-payment. Our auditors even stated that in actuality, because of the interest that we collect, we're better off than shutting off. So every year, anything delinquent is put on the taxes. And of course, they have to pay all the fees. And then regarding rental homes, I don't know whose the water bill goes to. It could go to the occupant. It could go to the owner. It could be the owner is being
Water bill always
delinquent.
goes to the occupant.
No,
No,
not always.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Unless otherwise requested.
Right. So, and then I'll make it really short, but if everybody read the city manager report from last week, we owe our chief a big congratulations. He's like man of the year. And it wouldn't have gotten started if your guys didn't respect you as much as they do. So, good choice to your office, you guys. And that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Only thing I have tonight is a thank you for all those that came out last night and supported the Kiwanis with their comedy club. We really appreciate you doing so, and it's generated another $1,600 that the Kiwanis can put into programs for children in the community.
Good job.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lynch?
If you're looking for something to do this weekend, we have two beautiful opportunities. On Saturday, you can come out to the Garden City cleanup. You can clean up your own yard. You can clean up your neighbor's yard. If you have a senior citizen next door, you can paint and refresh things. It's springtime. The weather was beautiful today, so it's now cleanup time, and the DDA did the campaign trying to get everybody out at the same time, trying to make a difference cleaning up Garden City. If you're looking for entertainment, Garden City High School performance, The Little Mermaid, is going to be going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I've heard it's a wonderful performance. So if you're looking for something to do, there's two choices. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bettis?
Yes, as the city manager indicated, Councilmember Dodge had asked about the $1.6 million bond, and I just did have a list of the purchases from that, which were...
You can just make us a copy, that's fine.
Okay. Also, council directed myself and the attorney to come up with a tentative employment agreement for the city manager, and that's that for your review. Let me know what you want to do. But that is available for your request. I did want to remind both the public and council, who already has the notice, that next Monday's council meeting has been moved to 5:30, and not in this room, but into the police multi-purpose room. So just a reminder, next Monday's meeting has been moved to an earlier time and a different location just across the walkway there. And just to provide information in terms of water shutoffs, it is our policy not to shut off. As Councilmember Dodge stated incorrectly, that we charge a administrative fee, and it is quite substantial. If there are also rules that landlords can follow to make their tenant responsible for the water bill. If they do not do that, however, the responsibility is of the property owner. I do encourage, and I do encourage anyone who is aware of a rental property that they feel are not paying whatever that we have it recognized as a rental property, because if the person doesn't tell us that it's a rental property, we haven't inspected it and we haven't charged it appropriately in terms of its taxes. So I do encourage you to let us know when that happens. And the landlord has to the owner of the property has to tell us where that water bill goes. We can make it so that it goes to both the landlord now. Just recently we've been able to make it so that it goes to both the landlord and the tenant. It can go to just the landlord. But I do encourage all landlords, all property owners, if you're renting it to your daughter, if you're renting it to some guy from outer space that you never heard of before, if it's your property in any way, ultimately you are responsible for the water bill. So you just want to make sure that you are looking online. It's available online, or you can call our office if you're not a big online person and find out what the status of that water bill is. Because the penalties for not paying it are substantial, and no one wants that surprise. I think that's everything. Thank you.
Mr. Kerwin? Thank you, Ms. Beth.
Yes, sir. Without mentioning any names, so there's no rebuttal, but to the lady that spoke about the women that are always talking down of us, I'm just glad they don't live in Garden City. I love my city, and that's too bad. I mean, there's problems no matter where you go, and the grass always looks greener, you know. And thank you to Mr. King's wife for the moveinmichigan.com. appreciate that, because there's people always interested. And I was going to say, well, I guess I will. I'm not happy with everything that always goes on, and maybe I am a touch more privy. I don't think so, but possibly. But the chief of police here, our good city manager, assigned, I believe it was 3 or 4 police officers when it was the towing was thing was underway, to check these sites out and everything else. And I would have honestly, anytime we can have something in Garden City, we have a Garden City business, I would definitely think that's the thing to do, the right thing. But this outfit did not meet the criteria, so, you know, I bid a job in Allen Park today, and they give me, if you reside in the city, you get 10%, a 10% discount, and that can be quite a bit. Another thing about the transparency, I'm truly open to transparency. And if you don't have the somebody watching the hen house, what's going to happen? When I ask for different things on different employees, they send me a bill for $300 or $400. Now, if you have somebody that's sitting here and they can't ask without being charged, there's a problem. There's a big problem. So I'm going to ask for whatever kind of information I think I need. Maybe I had 3 or 4 citizens say, I really want to know about this. And Mrs. Bettis is able to tell me part, and Mr. Murray can tell me part, but I want them to get me the documentation. I don't feel I should have to pay for it, because I'm doing you a service. Maybe I wasn't concerned, but I will be now if there's a few people that want to know about whatever it might be. That's my obligation, is to do that. And I'm not saying they wouldn't give me any information, but if it's not exactly what I wanted, I may ask for that. But if you have people here that really believe about transparency and everything else, and you can't get information, there is one big problem. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fetter?
No. Okay. Real quick, Sharon, she left. The water bill on shutting off, I think, was answered by Ms. Dodge, and I'm sure the mayor will speak on it. I need everybody to know, if there's a rental home on your block and it's not being kept up, let us know. You know, we can take a lot of heat up there, but I'm really getting tired of the residents complaining about homes on their block, but they won't call us and tell us about it. I'm not psychic. Some of us do take time every week and drive and walk through our community with a pad of paper and a pencil and write down things, and we call it in. Your name's never used on any form. They'll never find out who called us. It's not a big deal to us. Just tell us. Ms. Bettis mentioned it too, rental homes. There's certain ways, City Hall, that she has set up to try to identify them, but it's not foolproof. If you have a rental home and someone's making money, let us know. We do charge a different tax rate for taxes. They're making money in our community. It's not a bad thing to be a landlord, but as Sharon said, they don't quite keep it up. Not all of them keep it up as if they lived in the house. So drop us a dime. The number 793-1600. I think they asked for building, wouldn't they?
For rentals, let's start with building, yes.
Building department, 793-1600. Call us and just let us know. If you have someone who's a pack rat or a junkard or is tracking rats, call us. Our ordinance officer, I've bragged on him many times. I'll do it again tonight. He's wonderful. He gets on everything ASAP. He does it right away. He follows up. He's thorough. He's a workhorse, man. If we could get another one like him, it'd be wonderful. But we're blessed to have him. So just let us know. Call us. Let us know.
I've also had a couple customers, residents, when I've talked about Nankin Transit, say they've started using them. I want to give you the number. If you're handicapped, elderly, you have to be over 55 unless you're handicapped. Okay? For $1, a heated or air-conditioned bus will pick you up and take you anywhere in Metro Detroit. The market, the doctors, the dentist. Play euchre with your friend. They'll pick you up, drop you off, and then pick you up and take you home again. Just give them a 2 or 3 day notice, and it's $1 each way. That's it. It's $1. Our city pays $30,000, I believe. 34 in fees for this. Us and 4 other communities. It's called Nankin Transit. The drivers are wonderful. They'll help you with wheelchairs and walkers. Call them. It's $1. The number is 729-2710. 729-2710. And I'm glad to hear people are using them. Mr. Bacco, the signs that are missing, good. I don't want them. Okay? I'll just put it that flat. I've been asking to have them removed. In my mind, the school should put a big billboard up on the high school at their schools advertising their students' achievements. So I'm glad they're gone. Mr. Wyzak, Freedom of Information Act. We've already looked at this about a year ago. We set up a fee schedule that I'm happy with as far as information. I don't know what other communities charge, but I'll be honest with you up front. It ain't nothing I'm gonna ask Allison to ever look into in the foreseeable future, or the city manager. I can't speak about the other ones here, but we got, okay. That's it.
Okay. Ms. Squires?
Okay, first of all, thank you, Mrs. King. I was just making notes because every council meeting I hear how there's so many empty homes, and I know they are selling because I also am a realtor. So you saved me a little bit of work there. And this is for anyone in the listening audience or here in our room here that is a veteran. As you know, there are stores and restaurants in the areas around us that will offer a veteran's discount, possibly 10%. Now, I guess they vary. And the only way you get that discount is if you ask for it. And places like Lowe's will ask you to prove it. Well, there is a veteran's ID card that you can apply for now. It's very easy to get. Joe Callahan is the outreach coordinator of Veterans Affairs for Wayne County. And all you have to do is either call him and he'll tell you exactly what you have to have, or you can go down there. The office is located in the K. Beard Building on Michigan Avenue. It's 30712 Michigan Avenue. And you can enter up the west side of the building, and it's usually issued right on the spot. You will probably have to have maybe a DD-214, or if you're signed up for the Veterans Hospital downtown or Ann Arbor or wherever, you can just show that card and get one made. Joe's phone number is 734-727-7394. That's 734-727-7394.
Mrs. Squires? Yes. Can I add on to that? Wayne County Veterans Administration is going to be doing an event in May at the private La Scala Hall over in Dearborn Heights. Okay. And they're going to have those cards on the spot. And I'll bring back more information.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have several items, so we may be here for another 20 minutes, so hang on. We have some residents that come up to the podium and they don't really give you all the information, so I want to correct a few things. We always try to give businesses to Garden City businesses, but as far as the towing contract, the lot that they had was a grass lot on block, the requirement called for asphalt or cement. Okay? People would have had to walk through mud and snow when they go to get their vehicles. They also had inadequate lighting. They didn't have the proper lighting. They also were supposed to have a secure building for vehicles that were involved in crimes like hit and runs, fleeing and eluding, where the vehicle's got to be secured for evidence. So this particular business did not meet the requirements that were called out, and that's why they did not get the contract. Thank you, Mrs. King, for telling the truth about houses selling in Garden City, which sell a lot quicker than the neighboring cities around us. 38 days is the average here in Garden City. So again, it's nice to get the correct information. Mr. Wysick, you brought up several things I want to address. Back when we were in the downturn in 2007 to 2008, past council and this council took many steps to run the city with the money that we had. We downsized. The schools had asked for a millage. We asked what was important. The residents told us police and fire. Unfortunately, we had to lay off some DPS. And we said Parks and Recs had to be self-supporting. Yes, we have a 2.7 millage. And the other reason why we have, fund balance. The reason why we have the 2.7 fund balance is the past city manager took account of the downturn that's coming in property values. And we wanted to have a little cushion there. So, yeah, we took different steps, but we have the answers for them. And we met with the GCYA and Garden City Soccer, and they're good with these contracts. So it's a different world than it was in the 60s and 70s when you ran Parks and Rec. I will give you that. I have kids all the time knocking on my door from the high school, asking if we got any bottles and cans. Kids, it's pay to play, it's cheerleaders. They're selling everything nowadays, and that's just the way of the world right now. That's every city. I mean, it's a different world. I would love to give our kids the Parks and Recs like I had growing up. The money's not there. When it's there, when it comes back, we'll bring it back. But I think the steps we've taken, we're doing good, and the kids are going to have a great ball season and soccer season this year. Conduct. I'm called the bully mayor and all that. We've had residents come up to this podium and say, look, we're all adults, show respect. And again, I'm going to say, it's right on the back of every agenda when you come up here. I'm just going to go to a couple lines. Name calling, personal attacks, or engaging in other conduct which is determined by the presiding officer, that's me, okay, to be disruptive to the meeting, I will have you sit down, and I will continue to do that. All I'm asking for is respect. And when I feel you're being disruptive, name calling, personal attacks, yes, I'm going to ask you to sit down. The majority of the residents in this city are great. The majority that come up here are respectful. But for the handful of you that aren't, if you're going to act like that, you are going to be sitting down, and the next step, you're going to be out of here. Okay? I don't know how many times we got to go through this. We're all adults. Let's show each other respect. No speaking. It's my turn, okay? This Saturday, let's clean up Garden City. It's make it a citywide event. Also, I want to mention the chief and I drive around every week for an hour, different section of town every week, looking for ordinance violations, garages that need painted, gutters that are hanging. And we make a list and we give it to the ordinance officer. So we're going to continue to do that to fight blight in this city. So, and one thing I want to remind the residents, it's April. You would not believe how many Christmas lights and decorations are. I mean, I'm talking wreaths on the door, Christmas lights, and I don't think we have an ordinance in place for that, but folks, it's April. Please take the Christmas decorations down.
They're just early.
Yeah. But no, seriously, we do drive around. We are writing down addresses on violations that we see, and the ordinance officer will be paying you a visit. All we're asking for is a nice, clean city. We're going to fight blight. We're going to continue to fight blight. And also, last but not least, again, Chief, congratulations on being Chief Administrator of the Year for the entire state of Michigan. I think it's well-deserved, and I think you're doing a great job. And I can tell you, you're well-respected by the police officers, because I talked to a lot of them, and they say you're one of the best chiefs they've ever had. So with that, I think I covered everything. No further business. This meeting is adjourned.